Today is Friday, 13th of February 2026. My name is Francisco Gafni, and this is my daily streaming all about governance, risk, compliance, and advisory boards. We made it to Friday, February 2026, as pretty much the middle of the month or the middle of the quarter to Q1. So this week was about moving from the treadmill to a mode, and the mode is a distinct, sustainable competitive advantage that allows you and your company to protect its long-term profits and market share from competitors while adding value to their investors and shareholders. So let's recap the week first. On Monday, we talk about premium brand and products. On Tuesday, we talk about capital runway. Wednesday, we talk about company resilience. Yesterday, we talk about compliance. And now the final piece today, to wrap all this up, how do you make progress repeatably? And this is a key word, repeatably. Now, we are going to take a look from the assets lens. And today is two assets together, is a system assets and the market assets. And how I classify these two, or what are inside the box of these two, is a system assets is, we call it the machine. So it's the processes, the technology, the cadence, what is in calendar, what happened in Q1, Q2, the year, next year, etc., and all the reporting and dashboards. In terms of market assets, is how you multiply your business through partnerships, through ecosystem of distributors, through consolidation, positioning yourself in the media or in your customer or ideal audience eyesight, your corporate actions, right? So there's very interesting two differentiators, and one are working, helping each other, and we're going to develop this today. So let's take a look at three problems to consider first. Number one is, if executions depends on heroics, meaning actually efforts, you don't have a system really. You have efforts, and efforts does not scale cleanly, and it breaks under pressure. So the teams have a campaign. They say, let's do a sales blitz. That's a good effort, but it's not a system that's repeatably producing the results that a sales blitz can produce. And this is a very clean example. Number two, the UK governance expectations are sharpening around internal controls and outcomes, meaning we tried hard, is no longer sufficient board story. So if you have a sales blitz and the whole team could be across the EMEA, globally, and we used to have quarter-end sales blitz back in the day, and the company globally was on the phone and on the emails and any other platform that we had available, trying to make the last push of sales. That wasn't a repeatable process, because all the success is dependent on the people skills. And if you have very good sellers and very experienced sellers that were there for a long time, was a good thing. But then you have the juniors or the mid sellers in terms of capacity, mid capacity. They weren't fully aware how to do everything, but they were very good doing their job. The sales leads were very uneven in terms of results. Anyways, there's another condition there, which is a cadence, where that happened beginning of the year, mid-year, end of the summer, close to Christmas, different outcomes. So this is one of the things that when you see repeatability, what would be a better strategy? A most consistent, systematic sales approach throughout the whole year than spikes of activity at quarter end. I hope this simplifies this point. This is number three, which is a problem number three, which is actually is also mentioned in this example, which is the London Stock Exchange that I'm watching, and the business that needs repeatable ways to funding. And this case is funding, communicate, and execute, including using market mechanisms and structures alongside operations. So actually, this company have a different approach. So they depend on funding consistently to keep going with the operation. So instead of going and do sales blitz, for example, in these other cases I mentioned, they go to the market and ask for money. In other words, imagine this as a strategy without a system. It's like a playlist with no repeat button. And every track needs someone to press play again. So it does remind me of my friend Dave that like his whiskey, and he has a whiskey blues playlist, and I cannot imagine him enjoying a glass and then standing up every time to the hi-fi system to play a game for the next song, because that would be very disruptive of the experience and the enjoyment of the moment. But you can translate that example and this discomfort to the whole operation in your business. Now, with your permission, here's what I would like you to take home today. And I mentioned system assets in like a machine, there's processes, technology, cadence, and reporting. And also I mentioned market assets as a multiplier, partnerships, consolidations, positioning, and corporate actions. And here are two clean examples as what are system assets and what are market assets. And this is something that the boards confuse several times. And I'm going to mention the terms. The boards often talk about digital transformation as a program. That's a digital asset. And they also boards talk about merging and acquisitions as deals, specific deals. That's a market asset. It's not a deal. But through the asset lens, both are assets building processes, right? So as a board advisor, what I would propose to consider in these cases, remember that we're talking about system assets and market assets. Number one, build one repeatable operation rhythm, weekly metrics, monthly risk review, quarterly portfolio decisions, and then automate the reporting where it is safe to do so. This is the practical end of digital adoption programs in the UK economy and any other economy, by the way. But here's the key, particularly now when the boards are confused regarding AI. Automate where it is safe to do so. Implement AI where it is safe to do so, where you have a clear outcome of this. But just doing it because it's a trend thing that everybody needs to do, like it's a digital transformation, probably you're running into problems there not far long in the future. I mean, next quarter or next year. Because things is evolving so fast. Like it reminds me that in the 90s with the dot-com boom, it's evolving so fast that you don't know exactly what's going to happen until the dust starts to settle. And we start to see some signals that the dust start to settle. So it's better to be very careful where it's safe to do so. Number two, suggestion number two, treat market moves as capability, not as events. If you might buy, sell, merge, or partner, you need governance and rule book literacy. Even at the smaller scale, the principle of orderly markets matter. And we spoke about orderly matter yesterday with the compliance live streaming. So you can check it on my profile where it is that video. And suggestion number three, align system upgrades to control expectations. So align your system and their upgrades to control the expectations, right? So the UK Corporate Governance Code updates keep pointing boards back to internal control, effectiveness, and clear reporting, which makes system assets a governance issue, not an IT issue. And where is the differentiation here? It's pretty much you have the hardware and software, absolutely fantastic, IT. But then top, you have all the compliance requirement on the frameworks like a GDPR, cybersecurity. If you're managing credit cards on the webpage, you have other set of regulations and compliance requirements, etc., etc. It's a governance issue, not just an IT issue. And these differentiations are very important when you are on the board discussing these kind of things. So what makes it useful is not the sector per se, it's the pattern. And now it's a pattern. And I mentioned yesterday too, so there's different regulators, different things for different sectors. So, but the pattern is exactly the same. Now, I promise you a 10-minute audit, and here it is. It's a very single audit, a simple audit that you can run with your team in no time. So, as we mentioned, a company can have valuable assets, yet still be trapped if it cannot be funded. If cannot find progress repeatedly, if the execution is approvals, they cannot do that. Let's put it this way: your assets are trapped if you cannot fund your progress repeatedly, Number two, you cannot execute approvals repeatedly. Number three, they communicate progress repeatedly. And number four, convert efforts into something that next team can run, right? So repeatability here is the system. You're sitting on a system that can repeat this without a person. And it's not to take people's jobs. It's all about transferability, because people progress, they make career moves, they go into the ladder of the corporation, etc., etc. But they cannot have that knowledge in their minds. Or it can be an operator, it can be a manager, it can be a salesperson, whatever is the case. So you need repeatability, a cookie cutter, if you may, to make sure that the things are moving along, regardless of who is the operator, if you may. So that is why system and market assets matter. They reduce dependencies, they shorten cycles, and they make results repeatable. So why does the system and market asset approach matters? It's for three things. Number one is outcomes, differentiators, and risk reductions. In terms of outcomes, you leave with an asset lens audit result and a 30-day system asset plan that reduce manual work and improve board visibility, so they know what's going on. Number two is differentiator. You connect system assets and market assets, so you are not transforming in isolation. Because if you're going to considerable digital transformation, but that is not translated into how you translate that into your distributors, your ecosystems, your partnerships, etc., you are building scale levers that survive leadership changes, that don't survive leadership. So it's big lever here, no lever here. And when the leadership of these two areas change, they say, what we should do here, right? Because they feel that actually are isolated one to the other in terms of things that one is developing or implementing, and the other one is needing and requiring to run the business or make the partnerships and ecosystem works. And in terms of risk reducer, you keep it inside UK governance and market rule guardrails, so execution stays credible and compliant while you move faster. And you have guardrails already, so all this information is available in the web pages, so you can download the guidelines, the frameworks, etc., and then map out where is your organization and say, oh, we are here. At least we have a template where we can start and then adjust according to our strategy. Right. One action you can take home today, and is doable in 30 minutes or less. Score your last major initiative 1 to 5 on repeatability, and then write one system change that will let someone else run it without you or the person in charge today. And we'll see what is coming up out of this. It's a very interesting exercise, because start to show where the dependencies are coming from. So let's pause it here today and reconvene next week. And by the way, if you are sitting on a board today, or you are in the leadership team, and you want a B team looking for or to improve your system assets and market assets, set up a 30-minute call with me so I can understand your position, how an independent international advisor board looking from the outside in can help you and your team without stepping on your toes, without a traditional consulting overhead, and without a public theater. Wonderful. So have a great weekend, and see you on